Hi everybody, this is chapter 12 in our textbook. If you leaf through chapter 12, you're going to see to yourself, wow, this is a short chapter, but this is an important chapter. Very little in early childhood curriculum looks at routines and transitions, especially at the school level. So I have supplemented this chapter a lot with stuff that I think is important that I think you should know. I think there's a few important questions to look at. Why should we have routines and transitions? How can I use guidance during these routines? And how do I support a child if they're transitioning? So when I think of routines and transitioning, honestly, the first thing that comes to my mind is arrival to school and departure from school. This is what matters because it sets the tone for the entire school day. Children do it every day. They have to have this perfect and understand routines for the beginning of the school day, right at the beginning of the school year, so that they do it every single day. And it'll help them feel safe and secure, and once again, moving up on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, as you heard through all 11 of the previous chapters, this is important. So what you can do as a teacher or a principal, what I used to do as a principal, I would wait outside when the kids arrive. I did this so that the parents would see me more than anything else, so that if they had any problems, I could talk with them. But it also allows you to send warm and caring messages to the children to show them that they're going to have a good day. I encourage you as teachers to do that as well. Some kids ride a bus, some come by their parents, some report directly to their classrooms, and some go to different locations. Truly, it depends on the kid. So what do we need to do? How do we help children with arrival? Well, we look at steps in the routine, expectations, and acknowledgement. And this is fairly quick and this is fairly simple. So what do you do and what is the order that you do it in? First week of school, you practice this with kids 10 or 11 times a day. Here's what I think is always fun to do. Spend the first 3 hours of the day having them do the routine and making sure that every student in the class can get it perfect. If somebody messes the routine up, start over from the beginning. That way they know what the steps are. Step 1, you enter the room. Step 2, you hang up your coat and backpack. Step 3, you sign in. Step 4, you drop off homework if you have to. Then you pick a center, then you play and work. If you do it this way and the kids practice with it and they know it in the beginning, it's only going to make their experience better. If you've had observation guidance and intro to ed, but once again I know they're not necessarily required for this class, but if you did, you learned that calendar time is the most important routine for students in early childhood. You should have this down. You should be able to go onto a job interview and have videos of you doing calendar time. It's super, super, super important because it shows that you can not only manage a classroom, but you can also manage routines. Also, the teacher then knows where the students' heads are at for the day. If a kid's tired, if a kid doesn't want to cooperate, the teacher's going to be able to tell that tell that early on. In your later education classes here or at a terminal institution, you need to integrate calendar time into your work. So it's important that children need to know what your expectations are for behavior during routines. If they don't know what you're supposed to do, then there's a problem. So you need to make sure that they know what is supposed to happen for the routines. So here are the most common questions that kids will ask during their routines. Can I go to another center? Do I have to let everybody play? Can I ask for something? Do I have to take everything in my cubby home with me? When do I line up, or when do I line up on the bus? Now I want you to look at something and I want you to understand something. All of these stress children out. And we've already talked about stress in this class as well. So that can be an issue too. So if kids are going to be thinking these in their head, you want them to have answers for these questions. And if they have answers for them, they're likely to be less stressed, which is one of our goals. So when a child arrives to school, one of the things that you need to do is acknowledge them. Each child needs for the teacher to say goodbye to them and also to say hello for them. Because if you start the day with a greeting, you need to end the day with a salutation as well. So make sure you acknowledge what the child is doing and you say goodbye to them. So we give you some scenarios. Take a minute and I'll give you about a minute to read these. So remember, I'm coming at you from a principal mindset. So the only thing that I'm seeing here is wasted time, wasted time, wasted time, wasted time. This is more time than the children could be learning. Is it fair for the teachers to start a lesson without the kids in the room? Probably not. But if the children want to have center time in the morning and opportunity to work with something, why on earth should they be sitting in the gymnasium? I have a problem with this. Here's another scenario. This is a good way to end the day. Here's why you can do cleanup at the end of the day in this situation. Cleanup gets the kids ready for the long reading activity that's going to end the day. It's going to make them feel happy and it's going to make them feel comfortable. So they're going to want to read and they're going to want to listen to the story. So they're more likely to be calm at the end of the day. So if you're using direct guidance, we've talked about all of these throughout this course and we're near the end of it. Children have to be reminded of the limits that are set. Calm the children if you need to calm them, and teachers always have to listen to their students. That's really important, and they have to really, and children can sense when you're actually genuine about what they're saying. So that's important as well. So when you have large group time, children have to understand flow. If the teachers fail to set up the activities properly and they don't explain the expectation, the activity will fail. So when you're doing a large group activity, you need to make sure that setup is important. If you're doing a major activity, I say you always do while the kids are at a special or the kids are at lunch or recess. That way they jump back in, bang, bang, boom, and they're ready to go and the activity's set up. And make sure that you give feedback when feedback is necessary. You want to make sure that children know when they're working correctly, but you also want children to make sure when they're not working correctly as well. So if you set things up, then everything is appropriate. When you take the time to do labs and different projects and you facilitate it in advance, you eliminate hot spots and problems that could be occurring in the classroom. If it's a large activity, content got to be set up and you got to be prepared for any questions the kids will ask you. In these same things, you need to make sure that limits are set and rules are stated for the students. You determine what needs to be said, and that's half the battle, and you can restate limits as needed if you absolutely have to. So small group time is different. Small group time, children have to know that there's a beginning, middle, and end to their project or activity. Here's my biggest complaint with small groups. Small groups are something that teachers throw in the middle of the day to basically take a mental health break for themselves, say, work in small groups, and don't tell the kids when time is up. Kids get involved in these long-winded activities that they want to be doing, and learning might be occurring, and then the teacher says, okay, it's cleanup time. And the kid gets agitated because what they were working on got stopped. Children have to know the expectations ahead of time. You have to walk around the room and give them acknowledgement and encouragement when they're working. Is there anything wrong with you taking this as a mental health break and checking your email and grabbing a bottle of water and relaxing at your desk for the first 10 minutes? I don't think so. I think if you walk around the room once, everybody has a tasks and a plan, you do your thing, then you check back on the kids. That's a much better and more effective way to handle small group instruction. My belief is this: 10 to 15 minutes is at most for small group activities. Put it in the best location in the room. All materials have to be set up in advance, because if you are not setting the materials up in advance, you're doing it while the kids are trying to start, then you're wasting time. Small group activities, these need to be set up in advance, or the kids have to have a plan so they know what's going on. If activities are more condensed, which they are, teachers have to think more on their feet. They have to move around. If they notice the kids are struggling or they need help, the teacher needs to interject, and they need to provide direct guidance where necessary. So the other thing that we have is regular transitions. Transitions are not easy for children. They're not. You're going to learn about them in all of your methods classes. It's how a kid can move from reading to math in the snap of a finger and not still be thinking reading, or vice versa. So if they're well planned, meaning there's a song, meaning there's a stretch break, a jump break, something like that, it helps a kid better adjust to what a transition should look like. So what are some examples of transitions? You leave the classroom to go work somewhere, you come into school, you leave school, you go from one subject to another, you go from the classroom to the gym, lunchroom, or playground. Let me note this, and we've already said this before, this is the most challenging transition for kids. This is when the problems are going to occur, and it's going to occur between the gym, lunchroom, and playground. You have to know that. So, too many transitions, children become irritated and stressed very quickly. They need to be planned, they need to be effective. If you want to visit a website that really looks at transitions, Whole Brain Learning, W-H-O-L-E, Brain, B-R-A-I-N, Learning, L-E-A-R-N-I-N-G, wholebrainlearning.com offers good examples of what transition should look like. Teachers need to make sure that the transitions have a purpose and that children understand what the purpose of the transition is. So as we said, use the least amount of transitions possible, get material ready, and give them choices on what songs to sing during the transition time. And that's something that can help the children transition well. So finally, we end with telling you that make sure you use cues and signals, make sure that you have clear limits, and teach behaviors that are expected of children. So that's it. Chapter 12 is a lot of the same, and I get that. So one of the things that you need to do when we move forward for our last chapter in the class, which is also equally short, is put all these main ideas together. But this is it. These are the last ideas for this class, and I hope you've gotten something out of it. Thank you.